Some US banking corporations and insurance conglomerates may be too big to fail, but no football club, regardless of their stature, can ever assume that they have a God-given right to remain at the top. If Barcelona are in any doubt about this fact, they need only look at AC Milan. The Rossoneri arguably had the best team in world football during the mid-2000s, they are 7-time European champions, and they were crowned champions of Italy as recently as 2011. And yet, AC Milan have now gone 9 years without a major trophy, they have failed to finish in Serie A's top 5 for the last 7 seasons, and their biggest goal threat was born before the dinosaurs were wiped out by a super asteroid that was 10 kilometers in diameter. It's a decline that might seem unthinkable for a club like Barcelona, who haven't finished outside of La Liga's top 2 in over a decade, but the warning signs are there. Last week, Barcelona were dumped out of the Champions League in truly extraordinary fashion. Bayern Munich battered Barca from pillar to post, putting 8 goals past the Catalan giants, with the added humiliation of their own player coming on as a substitute to make an assist and score 2 goals during his brief time on the pitch. It was the heaviest Barcelona defeat in 69 years, the first time in which the club has conceded 8 goals in 74 years, and the joint heaviest Champions League quarter-final defeat of all time. In the aftermath of the defeat, Barcelona's sporting director Eric Abidal sacked the club's manager Quique Setien, before Abidal had his own contract terminated by the club. It's a deeply ugly set of circumstances for a team that labels itself more than a club, and whilst the phrase crisis is brandished all too frequently in football these days, Barcelona are a club in exactly that. For the last 15 years, I don't believe there has been a better team in world football than Barcelona. And as for the Barcelona team between 2008 and 2012, I don't think there has been a better team in the entire history of the sport. At their best, which was probably in 2011, Barcelona was so good that it was an achievement just to win the ball off them, never mind beat them. In Sergio Busquets, Xavi and Andres Iniesta, they are the finest midfield trio ever assembled, all graduates of Barca's own La Masia Academy, combined with a couple of classy imports like Dani Alves and Javier Mascherano, and topped off with the greatest player to ever play the game in Lionel Messi. There has never been a more talented crop of youth graduates from a single team over the course of a single generation than the group that came through at Barcelona between Carlos Puyol and Sergio Busquets. From this level of brilliance, and Barcelona reached near footballing perfection under Pep Guardiola at times, there had to be a come down. Just as there had to be at Manchester United, once Alex Ferguson retired and the class of 92 one by one fell by the wayside, or after Johan Cruyff left Ajax during the mid-1970s. Whilst Barcelona went from being a very good team that was turned into a great team by Lionel Messi from 2007 to 2017, for the last 3 years, they have been a fairly mediocre team, just about still clinging on to being a very good team, thanks almost solely to Lionel Messi. As such, it has been clear as day to pundits, players and supporters alike that once Messi's powers wane or the Argentine hangs up his boots, Barcelona are going to be in real trouble. The problem for Barcelona is that this steep decline is occurring even whilst Messi is still at the club. Now, of course, Barcelona were right to sack Quique Setien, just as pretty much any club outside of Hull City would sack their manager after shipping 8 goals, and I must say that I do believe Setien did a particularly terrible job at the Camp Nou. Barca may be a world away from the team that they were 8 or 9 years ago, but they still have some very talented footballers, from Ter Stegen between the sticks, to Busquets and De Jong in midfield, and a still very sharp Luis Suarez up front. Quite why you would play 4-4-2 with the players at Barcelona's disposal against Bayern Munich of all teams appears to be straight out of the Mike Bassett handbook, and I'm not quite sure what the former Betis boss was thinking. Setien is gone now though, and Barcelona must look ahead, so that is what we'll do too. The man who Barcelona have selected to replace Quique Setien, who I suspect will have been confirmed as their new boss by the time this video comes out, is former centre-back Ronald Koeman. Barcelona's recruitment has been wretched in recent years, although not quite as wretched as Ronald Koeman's dealings during his time in charge of Everton, which was his last job within the club game. Koeman's only previous managerial experience in Spain came with Valencia, who he guided to a 10th place finish, the club's worst performance in La Liga in more than 10 years. Admittedly, he did also win the Copa del Rey, but the general consensus among Valencia fans was that he was useless. And whilst Koeman has done a decent job in rebuilding the reputation of the Dutch national team, there are grave differences between managing a club and international level. Personally, I believe that there are only 2 possible explanations for Barcelona appointing Ronald Koeman. One is that they are delusionally clinging on to the idea that because Koeman was a star man in Barca's dream team under Johan Cruyff, that he will magically be able to bring back brilliant football and trophies to the Camp Nou, while simultaneously turning Arturo Vidal into the second coming of Michael Laudrup. which, in case you can't tell, I don't think is very likely. Or they have a cunning, potentially genius or potentially catastrophic plan up their sleeves, the like of which even Baldrick himself would never have dreamt up. You see, Barcelona have a problem. They have lots of players who aren't good enough to play for Barcelona. Yes, Martin, I'm looking at you. And their team is still highly dependent upon the players who were starring for them a decade ago and who are now all the wrong side of 30. They have another problem of sorts, which is that whilst they have a handful of seriously talented youngsters, we're not talking about 20 or 21-year-olds who they will soon be able to hang their hats on as their main men. We're talking about talented 16 and 17-year-old kids who need time to develop and aren't yet ready to compete for things like the Champions League. Whoever replaced Quique Setien had a huge task on their hands, overseeing one of football's toughest rebuilding jobs, all whilst continuing to compete for trophies and play brilliant football, both of which are just about the minimum expectations at the Camp Nou. Now, it is no secret that Barcelona view Xavi Hernandez as a long-term candidate to manage the club, and it seems highly likely that he will take the reins at some stage, perhaps within the next 3 years. Of course, Barca could simply have appointed Xavi now. I suspect the Spaniard will be willing to wave goodbye to a very healthy salary in Qatar to manage his boyhood club, but the Barcelona job right now would very possibly ruin a talented young boss like Xavi. Look at other rebuilding jobs that we have seen from across the world of football, say David Moyes at Manchester United or Unai Emery at Arsenal. Regardless of your views on Moyes and Emery's managerial talents, any manager in world football, whether it be Jurgen Klopp or Brian Clough, would have struggled with those jobs, particularly the one at Manchester United. What you really want as a young manager like Xavi is something like the set of circumstances that Zinedine Zidane inherited at Real Madrid when he replaced Rafa Benitez. When Zizou took over at the Bernabeu, he inherited a squad that was struggling, had low expectations, at least in his first half season, and had a squad laced with quality and potential that he could unleash. It's a similar story at Chelsea right now, where I believe the Blues transfer ban was actually a blessing in disguise for Frank Lampard, since it created a narrative of plucky old Chelsea. It gave Lampard a season to assess his squad before identifying any new targets, and he inherited a squad with lots of talented young players who are capable of stepping into the first team and becoming big players for the Englishman. Don't take anything away from the job Lampard has done, and certainly not the superb success of Zidane at Real. My point is purely that they inherited a more hospitable set of circumstances for a new or young manager, and had they been tasked with a job like the one at Old Trafford in 2013, they too may now find themselves managing West Ham. I don't think it's unthinkable, therefore, that Barcelona are hoping Ronald Koeman will be able to navigate the choppy waters of clearing out some of the deadwood and handing opportunities to Barca's talented teenage cohort, whilst keeping Xavi waiting in the wings to step in once all his old teammates are gone. Nelson Semedo has learnt some semblance of defensive positioning, and the likes of Ansu Fati and Ricky Puig are ready to become key men at the Camp Nou. Barcelona may be thinking, worst case scenario, Koeman does a poor job. We finished second a couple of times, maybe even third, and failed to win the Champions League, only for us to give him the axe and bring Xavi in. Best case scenario, Koeman turns out to be the second coming of Christ, he works miracles over the next few years, and we can bide our time to bring Xavi in whenever things look like they might be starting to turn stale. Of course, and I want to make this absolutely clear, this is all wild Alex Jones-style speculation. But if this is the case, I think the danger for Barcelona is that they haven't properly assessed the worst case scenario. I have long felt that Lionel Messi would retire at Barcelona, and I still think there's probably a 70-30 chance that he will, but that probability is falling all the time. The Argentine is 33 years old, and whilst he could play until he was 40 if he avoids any catastrophic injuries, he probably has around 3 years left in which he can be the spark that routinely wins games and perhaps trophies for a team. If I were Lionel Messi, and I can assure you that very sadly I am not, but if I were, I wouldn't be too impressed by the appointment of Ronald Koeman. Messi doesn't have the time to watch Project Ronald go down the pan for Xavi to come in and sweep up the mess, leading Barcelona into their next era. He needs to be competitive now. Strip the emotion away if I were Lionel Messi, and I had the choice of playing in the current Manchester City side under Pep Guardiola, or the current PSG team, or this Barcelona team under Ronald Koeman's stewardship. I know which one I would fancy, giving me the best chance of winning a hatful of trophies and a crack at a 5th Champions League crown. If Messi were to leave Barcelona, bearing in mind that it looks quite likely that Luis Suarez and others will also depart, Barcelona are a real shell of a team. You cannot really exaggerate how reliant they have been on Messi over the last couple of years, and whilst it might help Antoine Griezmann become the main man, a Messi-less Barcelona look no stronger than Atletico Madrid or Sevilla as far as I'm concerned. The risk, therefore, is that Ronald Koeman doesn't oversee a slightly underwhelming transition period, but a potentially devastating decline that sees Barcelona fall in the same way AC Milan have over the last 10 years. Ultimately, what really needs to happen at Barcelona is for Josep Bartomeu to do the honourable thing and resign. The 57-year-old was an unpopular choice as president among many Barca fans in 2014, and those fans have since been proven right. Simply put, Bartomeu is incompetent, and in just 6 years, he has taken Barcelona from the summit of the European game to being a continental embarrassment who couldn't even beat a far from inspiring Real Madrid team to the La Liga title, which has been Barca's meat and drink over the last 10 to 12 years. One thing people often underestimate is Lionel Messi's extraordinary loyalty and commitment to Barcelona. The Argentine has blue and maroon blood coursing through his veins, and even though Barcelona seem a long way off winning the Champions League under any presidency right now, if Bartomeu were to leave, I'm near certain that Messi would stay and look to play his part in Barca's transition, even at the sacrifice of trophies and individual accolades. For Barcelona then, the choice is simple in many respects, between their greatest ever player and quite possibly their worst ever president. I know what I would do. So that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to hit the like button if you did. Let me know your thoughts on what this summer and both the short to long-term future holds for Barcelona down below in the comments, and feel free to subscribe to HITC7s if you'd like to see more videos by yours truly in the future.